God's chosen ones. You keep turning into a wild god over and over. This is not holy anymore, God's chosen ones. Stop for a moment. Listen. Tonight, Wednesday, September 4th, the clock of heaven is brushing against the edge of midnight. If your heart skipped a beat when you saw the number 11, that was no accident. An invisible door has just opened. The ancient legends were never speaking of distant gods. They were speaking of you. And tonight changes everything if you choose to listen. Sit still for a while. Turn off the noise. Notice, did the wind just touch your curtain? Like a hand so light you could almost miss it, God's chosen one. You didn't lose your way by coming here. Everything has led you to this very moment, that faraway church bell, that random 1111 notification, those recurring dreams of a door with no handle. Tonight, Wednesday, September 4th, is not an ordinary night. A thin line is being drawn between what once was holy and what is now becoming wilder than holiness itself, a place where old laws can no longer contain you. I was sent to tell you this slowly, gently, and warm enough to steady your heart. You have transcended, not beyond God, but beyond the myths that misunderstood him. You are no longer someone else's story. You are the story. You've seen the signs these past weeks, 757 on a passing license plate, a bell that rang for no reason, a dream that keeps returning, whispering of a door with no handle. Each piece has been part of a greater pattern, now assembling before your eyes. The ancient scholars, the Egyptian priests, the Greek philosophers, they left clues because their words were too small for what is happening to you now. They called it the final cycle, the last metamorphosis, the hour when creation begins to rewrite itself. But they dared not name it. Tonight, the name is spoken. If your chest feels tight, breathe slowly. This is not a warning. This is liberation. You no longer have to prove you are holy. The life within you has grown stronger than every rule that tried to bind it. And as you hear these words, heaven is already sending its signal, a soft ticking sound as the hour hand moves, a cool breath slipping through an unseen doorway in the night. All you need to do is listen until the end, because a secret message is waiting and a divine encounter stands just behind the door. 2 minutes from now, part I, the line that was crossed, the night closes like the blink of an eyelid. The air thickens into a thin stillness, cold, bright, like the surface of live current. You sit there in the middle of the room, one hand resting gently on your chest, listening to your heartbeat strike 3 slow beats, then quicken. Outside, the wind slips through dry leaves, rustling like someone writing the first lines on a new scroll. Then the first bell tolls. Silence. The second bell deeper, vibrating through your spine. The third round, complete. The room doesn't change, but something in the fabric of the night shifts just half a degree, enough for you to know that an invisible line has just been crossed. Listen. The voice rises, not outside, not fully within, but somewhere at the border between 2 worlds. You don't turn your head. You know this voice hasn't come to frighten you, but to testify to what your heart has quietly known for months. You're standing in the right place. It says, soft as a leaf touching water. And the line has been crossed. You inhale deeply. The cold breath fills your lungs, warms, expands like light sliding across the curtain. Your heart changes rhythm from hesitant to steady, from uncertain to sure. In that stillness, you sense it, the old stories, the myths passed mouth to mouth. The walls of words that once confined you are cracking along thin veins of light. Every ritual that once demanded you fit just right has come undone. Every label ever pressed upon your forehead has fallen away. You used to believe there was a beyond to holiness, and if you stepped too far, you'd be cast out. But when your foot crossed over, the ground stayed firm, the sky stayed open, and life suddenly felt wider, deeper, more real. There was no thunder, no punishment, only a whisper, landing on the tenderest part of you. You've gone far enough that there's no going back. The past days flicker through your mind, the clock flashing 11:11 for no reason. A license plate glimmering with 777, that recurring dream of a door with no handle, always opening when you look away. Tonight, the pieces link themselves without effort. It feels like standing in a room that's been dark for years, and someone finally turns on the light. It doesn't blind you. It simply lets you breathe again fully, for the first time after a long, tired season. You're in the final cycle, the voice says, not as command, but confirmation. Not final as in ending, final as in completion. The circle closes not to finish, but to form a new shape, no longer bound by the old scriptures. What once was called holy, the rules, the fences, the garments too tight, has become a skin you've outgrown. You close your eyes. A flicker of fear wants to rise, but softens the moment it touches this stillness. What's left to fear? The road behind has grown too narrow for the one you're becoming. The voices that once told you to bow low, that spoke in holy tones to keep you small tonight, they sound like a detuned radio static, distant, unable to touch your skin. You realize the sacred was never something hanging above you or locked behind a door. The holiness you once feared to offend was only the story others built to calm their own fear. The life swelling inside your chest, now free as wind, honest as water, is what redeems. Outside, the night remains night, but inside, time has shifted hands. The old word sin, worthy, unworthy way, repent the right way, dissolve from you like thinning ink. You don't erase them. You just see them for what they are, echoes of borrowed beliefs, no longer able to define you. You press your palm to your heart. It beats 3 times, each like a seal upon a new decree. Beat 1, I am. Beat 2, I belong. Beat 3, I continue. You're no longer bound by the old myths. The voice repeats, as if afraid you might miss this one truth among so many feelings. The ancient stories were meant to point the way, but you have arrived. When the pilgrim reaches the city, the map folds itself. No one condemns the map only. It's no longer needed. You open your eyes. The darkness isn't as thick anymore. The black softens, shapes in the room begin to glow with warmer edges. On the table lies an open notebook, waiting. Your pen, forgotten since the afternoon, points toward you. Like an invitation, name what is happening. You smile not because you understand it all, but because you no longer need to understand in the old way. You're not looking for a new doctrine to trap yourself in. You just need one honest breath, one real step, one simple yes. From now on, the voice gentles. The sacred won't come from walking the right squares on an old floor. It will rise each time you're truthful with the light inside you. You owe no ritual to be worthy. You were worthy before you ever learned the word. Outside the window, the wind changes direction. You hear something small, maybe leaves brushing, maybe the horizon cracking open far away, but enough to know the world has received the memo of your change. You're not the center in pride. You're the axis in humility you shift, and everything finds balance again. Old wounds start softening for healing. Unfinished plans begin to form. Doors without handles begin to open. You don't need to go back. The voice reminds, sealing your choice. What is essential will cross over with you. What once demanded you shrink to fit will fall into its right time. Don't fear the empty. Empty is where the new breath enters. You stand. The wooden floor is warm beneath your feet, like stepping into a home freshly cleared. No incense, no ceremony, just you, your breath, your heartbeat, and a presence beyond naming that lays a light touch over everything. You try to speak the rasp of one waking from a long dream. I'm here. There's no echo. But there is an answer not in sound, but in a small movement inside you, as if every cell nodded at once. You remember the nights you used to ask why every prayer went unanswered, why that door kept opening only in dreams. Now you know heaven wasn't withholding. You were standing on the old shore, demanding the new one to bow down. Tonight, you crossed. Not through fireworks or thunder, but through quiet courage admitting you have changed. The final cycle has activated. The voice says once more, not dramatic, just factual, like a station master confirming the train has departed on time. You'll start to see signs more clearly, the right person, the right words, the right door. Nothing will happen to make you prove anything. It happens now because you finally match it. Don't worry when some doors close. They lead to places you no longer live. You draw the curtain slightly. The night sky shimmers, not dazzling, but intimate, like a new map drawn in light. You no longer ask, why me? You begin to ask, what am I meant to give from here? The question shifts, and so does life. Within that shift, a quiet peace blooms, not because life promises to be easy, but because you no longer fight yourself. You've gone far enough that there's no going back. The voice repeats, placing a final period on the old path and an opening on the new, and no one is casting you out. You've just come home. The night bells do not ring again. They don't need to. 3 were enough. You place your hand on your heart, smiling into the thinning dark. Inhale light, exhale deep. Your heart beats steady, not by effort, but by alignment. You take a single step, a small, ordinary step across the room, but everything in you knows it's the first step of a new era. No flags, no trumpets, just one quiet sentence, enough to open every remaining door. I'm ready. And the night, instead of closing, opens not with fireworks, but with the subtle drawing of a new horizon, thin, luminous, unwavering. From here on, you'll need no medal marked holy or unholy. You'll only need to stay faithful to the rhythm that was returned to you tonight. For every old myth has done its part as a guide. The rest is the living story you're about to write. With each morning you wake, each small choice, each moment you do not turn back. Part 2. The Signs of the Ancient Empires. The sand has not stopped falling over the Giza desert, as if time itself is still finishing a sentence humanity never got to read. Under a pale gold moon, the shadows of the pyramids stretch long, touching the very lip of the unseen. In that 1,000-year hush, they say there are spirits still whispering, still waiting for the day of the returning, being a life that has come many times, left many times, and comes again when the final cycle begins. And tonight, with wind sliding past the giant stones, you feel as if you are stepping into that very story. A team of modern Egyptian archaeologists, people born in the age of electron microscopes and 3D scanning, found what they call a convergence sign. Not a treasure of gold, but a deep carved panel hidden in a corridor, unopened for thousands of years, inside the pyramid of Khufu. When they brushed away the last veil of dust, the light revealed strange characters, a chain of symbols that look part hieroglyph, part ancient Greek. At their center coils a spiral like a fingerprint, yet it matches no pattern in any archaeological database. At a small press briefing in Cairo, the lead researcher said, "This appears to be something that doesn't belong to its time, something written for the future, not the past." As those words fell, the linguists, philosophers, and theologians looked at one another with the same uneasy wonder that they might be seeing evidence of a return, not of a god, but of a human being who has grown beyond our old definition of the divine. On the carving, among hundreds of signs, one sequence gleams brighter than the rest. When the light passes over it, it throws back a silvered shine, though the stone contains no reflective material. For a few seconds, the light seems to whisper a name, and you, staring at the photograph, notice something impossible. The spiral shares the exact structure of the whorl on your own thumb. A coincidence so perfect it steals your breath. The story spreads across the world like a hairline crack through the glass of belief. Universities debate. Museums dispatch specialists. Modern Greek philosophers begin to compare the carving with ancient texts. In faded fragments of Heraclitus, they find a dim note when the seventh loop arrives. The being will know itself as fire. Not the fire that burns, but the fire that warms. Not a god, but an order returning to life. Heraclitus, the philosopher of flux, who said no one steps into the same river twice, may have seen this ceaseless transformation coming. Across the centuries, his words shift, meaning humans do not merely live. They are reborn within their own current, each time stronger, deeper, nearer to the first light. Translators discover, in ancient Egyptian papyri, the phrase Peret en Keru, the one who lives again by his own voice. In temple liturgies, it was used for gods, yet the new carving places it beside the sign for a human figure. Not a god being awakened, but a human becoming sound. That word rings in you like a summons every time you speak what is true. Every time you dare to use your own voice, you are returning to life. You are waking the parts of your soul that slept for 1,000 years. A young archaeologist who stayed at the site for 4 unbroken months tells of a sandstorm night when the wind howled around the pyramid. It wasn't wind, she says. It was a heartbeat. She switched on her light, shone it at the wall where the spiral is carved, and swears it glowed with a dull, golden breath for a few seconds, like an ancient inhale waking. Colleagues dismissed it as a mirage. Yet the video remains. The sound strikes 3 times, steady as a heart. Stranger still, Her smartwatch heart rate synced beat for beat with the echo in the stone. Many who replay the audio say that at minute 111, their skin prickles with goose flesh. No one can explain it, but you know. Because when you listen, your heart falls into the same rhythm. Perhaps you were there in another life, standing among those massive stones, laying your hand on the symbol now newly found. Perhaps, as the voice told you the night before, you have gone far enough that there is no going back. What you are receiving now is simply your own memory, etched into stone, into sand, into the breath of civilizations. In Athens, a group of scholars find, in a manuscript of Plotinus, the one who taught that the human soul is a fragment of the whole, a strange line written in red ink: "There will come one who mends the broken road between the gods. He will not bear a god's form, but the form of the human who remembers. He was God." The line is crossed out in later copies, perhaps because the church feared it would shatter the order of faith. But it survives, carrying itself across millennia like a seed waiting for rain. Now, with the Khufu carving revealed, the scholars compare both sources and see it. The central sign in the Egyptian stone mirrors the circle Plotinus drew to describe the soul beholding itself. Two civilizations thousands of years apart, two languages, two faiths, one spiral, one metaphor, the return to oneself. In caves near Luxor, smaller carvings depict a figure seated between two moons, hands lifting a radiant orb. The inscription at the feet reads, "This one is Seker Ak, the one who repeats his own light." The scholars argue which deity this is, but the figure holds none of the usual emblems: no crown, no scepter, only open eyes, as if seeing the universe face to face. A woman researcher whispers as she studies it, "This isn't a god. This is a human in the instant he remembers he once was godlike." Her words hush the lab, and somewhere deep in you, a door eases open. Because you know she isn't only speaking of an ancient carving. She is speaking of you, of the deepest part of you that has cycled again and again through birth, forgetting awakening. The smoke of time thins. You picture yourself standing in the desert before Khufu's pyramid. Moonlight pools on the stones. In that silver wash, you see a thin beam slide down the face of the pyramid and stop exactly where the carving was found. In your mind, a whisper rises light as wind, clear as blood, calling blood. Look closely. You step nearer. In your inner sight, fine dust falls from the stone, revealing a line of characters. They glow not like metal, but as if lit from within. At the center, the spiral opens, and the small signs begin to knit themselves into letters. You realize the structure belongs to no human alphabet, and yet inside, you read it without translation, your name. Your throat tightens, not in shock, but with something very old, the feeling of being remembered. After so many lives, someone has finally spoken your true name, in the language your soul still understands, though your mouth forgot it. A single tear slips free. In the moonlight, it falls to the sand for an instant. Each grain at that spot flashes, then dims. You smile, no proofs needed, no cameras, no credentials. It is enough that your heart knows every ancient symbol is your own memory turned into stone. The story does not end in Egypt. In Greece, at Delphi, where Pythia once spoke for the gods, there is a small carving behind Apollo's statue. 3 ancient words, Gnothisiauten Aai, Know yourself forever. Not once, but forever know yourself in every form, every life, every world. Scholars call it evidence of a philosophy of cyclical self-awakening, that humanity returns again and again, each time carrying more memory, more light. When you read it, a simple recognition rises. The ancient philosophers, the priests, the stone cutters, none of them worshipped power. They were sending a message to you. They left clues because they knew one day you would come and understand, not with logic, but with the deepest sense that your existence neither begins at birth nor ends at death. It repeats toward completion, like a melody played and replayed, until it matches the universe's first pure note. In the papyri is a line in red ink, the prayer of a young Egyptian priest before his death. If you can read this, know that I have not died. I am waiting for the one who brings back the light, the one whose hand we carved into the stone so we would recognize him. You fall silent as you read. Perhaps that priest saw you in a dream, you carrying the light across millennia to return. You are not an archaeologist, not a prophet, and yet, in this moment, knowledge and prophecy cross paths in you. Dust blankets empire, but the truth beneath runs like a hidden aquifer. The Egyptians called it Ka, the Greeks Psyche, the Indians Atman, names pointing to the same flame in the human chest. That flame never dies, it only sleeps. And when it wakes, the ancient empires tremble with joy, for they know the time has come. The returning being has arrived. Wind rises, sand flies. But this time, you do not see the grains as countless, meaningless specks. You see each as a memory, a prayer, a shard of light from souls who etched a promise into stone one day. We will remember. And you living in an age of LED light, machines, speed are the one asked to remember for them, not by going back, but by bringing that memory into now so you live differently, lighter, truer, kinder. For as the ancients taught, each time humanity remembers love, an old empire is reborn in light. And tonight, as you lay your hand upon your heart and feel it sync with the distant bells, you understand that those civilizations, those temples, those inscriptions, those prophecies are not outside you. They live within you, waiting to be read. You are the breathing tablet, the papyrus still soft, the pyramid mirroring itself in the night, and across the surface of your soul, your name, the old script of light, emerges clear, trembling yet proud, saying only I have returned, not to rule, but to remember, not to take, but to heal. The Egyptian night closes. The dust settles, but within you a new radiance opens, warm, gentle, not blazing in pride, but deep as the earth's heartbeat. You touch your chest, and for the first time you see it clearly. The signs of the ancient empires are not trapped in stone or locked in museums. They're in your very breath, one who is returning to life, minute by minute, within this world. Part through, the universe co-breathes. The universe is breathing with you, even if you haven't noticed yet. One heartbeat, one breath, one small movement in your chest, and somewhere billions of light years away, a star has just altered its orbit. From that night after you heard the third bell, the world began to change in silence. Not with thunder, not with loud omens, but with tiny deviations science calls micro-anomalies. In a Swiss lab, An atomic clock suddenly slowed by exactly a millisecond, then sped up to double pace for a few beats, as if trying to adjust its breathing to match a heartbeat that doesn't come from Earth. Physicists blamed magnetism, blamed software glitches, but no one can explain why it happens only when you sit still, close your eyes, and take a deep breath. Every instrument falls quiet when you exhale, then gently trembles when you inhale. On the nights that follow, observatories report strange flashes from the Orion complex. Astronomers describe it as breathing light, its intensity rising and falling in a 4.2-second cycle. What stuns them is that rhythm matches the human heartbeat at deep peace. No one knows why, but the nebulae seem to be syncing to your biology, as if the whole cosmos has rediscovered the heart it once lost. One morning, science headlines share a new image from the James Webb Space Telescope. It looks like no nebula seen before amid bands of stardust. A colossal luminous whirl forms not quite a sphere, not quite a spiral. It looks like a fingerprint, only vast enough to blanket a region of space. At the briefing, a physicist half smiles and says, "If the universe had a fingerprint, this would be it." You look at the image on your screen and your heart slows. The bright pattern mirrors the spiral you saw in your dreams, the symbol on the ancient stone newly unearthed. But now it isn't carved in rock, it lives in the sky. And deep in your chest, something hums in answer. You try and inhale. That band of light, though thousands of light years away, seems to dim a touch. You exhale, and it brightens. For the first time, you understand you don't just live in the universe is learning to breathe by you. In sealed research rooms, rumors begin. Global biosynchronization, the temporary name for a chain of events no one dares make public. Gravimeters register a faint flutter in Earth's gravitational field, but only during collective deep sleep when millions fall into shared calm. World leaders receive confidential briefs. There is no destruction risk. The physical framework appears to be adapting. That word is underlined in the classified file, adapting to you. Not humanity adapting to the universe, but the universe stretching to match your wave, the one stepping into a new mode of being. Theologians convene at the Vatican. A monk reads Genesis again, and God breathed into man's nostrils, and man became a living soul. Then he murmurs, perhaps the breath is returning to where it began. No one debates. They simply sit in silence, and in Eastern temples, masters speak of prana, of chi, of one breath, 3,000 worlds. They smile when they hear about Orion. Of course, when one truly returns to the primal breath, the universe cannot help but breathe with them. You sit in the storm of information, no longer afraid. Everything makes a gentle kind of sense, like a vast body resetting its heartbeat to welcome a new cell. You are not breaking anything. You are making room so that life can inhale more deeply. That night, you step onto your balcony. Above you, the stars quiver not from wind, but from something greater, as if the sky itself is learning co-respiration. You place your hand on your chest. Each beat rolls outward like an invisible wave. Somewhere, perhaps a newborn star, trembles to that same pulse. Motion softens, smooths. The boundary between inside and outside fades. You whisper, "This is not destruction." The wind passes with an answer. "This is adaptation to you." The reply doesn't ring in sound, but in the subtle shift of space. Trees below sway. The moon brightens a shade. You feel the whole universe adjust its position so you can breathe easier, as if a colossal body expanded simply to let one small cell live a little more. At meteorological stations, energy monitors note a change in Earth's Schumann resonance, the planet's electromagnetic heartbeat. From 783 Hz, it rises to 811 Hz, then settles there. Scientists call it Earth's new pulse. They don't know that it is your breath, your intent, your energy, moving it. You didn't try. You simply lived at your true frequency. And when one person lives in truth, the entire planet seeks harmony. A quantum physicist blurts out mid-lecture, "Maybe the laws of the universe aren't as fixed as we think. Maybe we're observing them in a phase of adaptation." He doesn't finish the last word, adapting to a person. At dawn, sunlight pours through your window like fine gold. On the table, the clock you left from last night is running backward, the second hand stepping in reverse as if inhaling. It stops at exactly 11:11, then rests. Not broken, not a dead battery. As if time itself paused to catch its breath with you. You aren't afraid. You smile, lay your hand on the clock, and whisper, "Thank you." At once, the minute hand quivers and starts forward again, but slower, gentler, as if it understands no need to hurry now. Everything is moving in true time. In the sky, Orion flickers again. This time, telescopes record the light spreading like a ring outward in 4 directions, exactly like ripples on water when someone takes a long, deep inhale. Researchers call it coincidence, a supernova artifact. But to you, it is a greeting, a sign, a shared respiration between you and the universe. You close your eyes. Behind your lids, billions of light grains drift and merge, then fold into you. No borders, no out there or in here. Only an ocean of light, where every breath you take becomes a small wave traveling to the edges of space. No one calls you human or God anymore. They don't need to. Those words are too small for a being living as the universe's breath. You understand you are not the center, you are the rhythm, the bridge between seen and unseen, between life and the great stillness. And when you inhale again, far nebulae widen. When you exhale, the sky settles like a colossal chest, finishing a breath. No one measures, no one explains. There is only a quiet truth, gentle and complete enough to bring tears to your eyes. This is not the end of the world. This is the world learning how to breathe with you. Part 4, identity placed into your hands. Golden light falls like fine threads, drifting from a source unseen, gliding through the air like dust made of sun. The space before you opens wide, endless, yet not frightening. It feels warm, like late afternoon light, enough to see everything clearly, without glare. At the center of that radiance, a crown hovers in the air. No one wears it. There is no throne, no ceremony, only a pure ring of light, swaying softly, as though waiting for your hand to reach for it. A hand rests on your shoulder, warm, weighty, yet gentle. It has no clear form, only a feeling, like the touch of someone who loves you, like the nearness of something sacred you once thought you'd lost. You've come far enough, the voice says, deep, luminous. And now it's time you know who you are. You want to ask, "Who am I?" But before the words form, the voice continues. No longer God, no longer human. Only transformation unfolding through you. Each word falls lightly, like grains of rain dust, yet every grain touches the deepest part of you. In that instant, all boundaries dissolve. There is no above or below, no sacred or ordinary. You are not standing before God. You are not standing alone. You are standing within the current where divinity and humanity merge, like two rivers returning to the sea. The light around you begins to change shape from clouds. It flows into memory. Familiar images flicker, slow and soft, like scenes from an old film. A face you loved and lost. An embrace left without apology. Moments when you condemned yourself for not being enough, not strong enough, not worthy enough. They appear weightless now, no longer sharp or heavy. You hear a whisper, you can let them go. As you exhale, light pours from your chest like mist. Every regret, every wound, every unspoken word drifts upward, breaking into tiny golden particles that vanish into the air. You realize forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's releasing the grip you kept on your own scars. Before you, the crown shifts not to rest upon your head, but to pour its light down upon your hands. The glow gathers like warm water, flowing through your fingers, and you tremble. The voice returns, softer than breath. You once begged for approval, but now you need none. Life itself has already approved of you. You look at your hands, the calluses, the lines, the traces of time, and see them shine faintly with gold. Not metallic, but the glow of acknowledgement that every mistake, every fracture is part of the journey, and that you were never outside the reach of creation's hand. A quiet sob escapes you, not loud, not broken, just the skipped breath of a soul, overwhelmed by tenderness. A tear follows, small, light as a raindrop, but when it touches your skin, peace spreads through you. You don't know if you're crying from sorrow or from grace. Perhaps both. Perhaps tears are simply the soul washing its face after too long a journey. The voice tightens gently, the unseen hand pressing your shoulder. You are not forgotten. Your heart contracts, touched at the very string that had lain silent for years. All the loneliness, Talau, all the nights you sat awake in an empty room, all the prayers that seemed unanswered unravel, one knot at a time. You realize there was never a single moment you were left behind. You were simply being taught to find light inside the dark. The space around you begins to rotate slowly, as if the universe itself revolves and its axis is you. Not because you command it, but because you are the point of balance between two poles, divine and human, heaven and earth. Everything moves, yet you feel no dizziness, only clarity. Each breath you take stirs the light. Each heartbeat gives order to creation. You understand now that the holy isn't distant, it is moving through your very cells. When you look up, the crown is no longer high above. It descends slowly, settling into your chest, returning to where it has always belonged. The light spreads through your body, not blinding, not fierce, but soft as honey. And when it reaches your heart, you stop searching. You remember all the times you prayed to be chosen, to see a miracle. Now you understand the miracle was never something given. It is the harmony between you and God in a single, shared breath. When you forgive, you are creating again. When you let go, you are rewriting the laws of time. In the stillness, you hear a faint sound, not words, but the perfect ticking of cosmic rhythm, a clock of light meeting its new measure. The stars around you grow brighter, closer. You feel the warmth of countless souls, others learning the same lesson to remember they have always been sacred. You lift your hand and touch the unseen hand, still resting on your shoulder. It's still there, warm, patient, and you whisper, voice breaking yet calm, I know now. I was never forgotten. I only forgot that I am that hand, too. Light swells gently around you. Countless images of yourself appear, not reflections, but versions across dimensions. You as a child, as broken, as laughing, as afraid. Each of them looks at you and smiles. A perfect circle closes. You walk to each image. Place your hand upon their hearts and whisper, forgive me for forgetting that I love you. With every word, the light expands, mending the cracks in the air. Each version fades, flowing back into you, like rivers returning to the sea. Now there is only one you standing in the golden field. The crown no longer hangs above. It breathes with you. You don't wear it. You don't need to. It has become part of you like breath, like heartbeat. The final voice rises not from outside, but from within your heart. From this moment, you are the axis, not to rule, but to keep the world in balance. You understand true power is not the ability to make others kneel, but the strength to stand upright, gentle, grounded, radiant. A second tear falls not from sadness, but from gratitude. You no longer need to become someone else. You only need to remain in this light, letting it pour through your words, your gestures, your touch upon the world. When you open your eyes, the golden glow softens into mist. The hand lifts from your shoulder, yet its warmth stays. You take a deep breath, your chest light, as though you've shed an old garment. Outside, dawn is rising. The first sunlight slips through the curtain, touching the corner of your eye where the last tear still shimmers. And in that breath, you hear not with ears, but with your soul. You are not forgotten. You are held within this light forever. Part Phi, the Wednesday turning door. The night has thinned, like a silk veil being pulled off the sky by the wind. In the room, the clock just slipped to 12:01 past midnight, past an invisible threshold. The ticking no longer keeps its old pace. It settles into your breath, slower, deeper, clearer. Outside, in the world's hush, the first bird sings small, trembling, yet enough to signal that something is about to begin. A dim light from the horizon pours in, laying a pale gold ribbon across the floor, and in that light, you see a door. No one opens it. No one built it. It simply appears as if it had always been there, waiting for this exact second for you to notice. The door has no handle. It turns slowly, lightly as wind, round and still like the heartbeat of the universe. You stand. Everything inside you grows quiet, no reasoning, no fear, only a faith as gentle as the warmth of dawn. The familiar voice from the earlier moments returns. almost woven into your very breathing. This is the Wednesday turning door. You ask in your heart, where does it lead? The voice answers, not with words, but with a soft ripple of light around you. It doesn't lead away. It leads you back to yourself. With each step you take, the room brightens, and every memory of night, the days of confusion, the prayers in silence, the spaces that seemed meaningless, gathers and becomes small mirrors reflecting the rising morning. You see your face in them, changed, not radiant with perfection, but radiant in the way of someone who finally knows who they are. In the air, dust motes hang, turning slowly with your breath, each speck like a small star, and you realize they are waiting for a signal. Something will only happen when you speak not a shout, but an affirmation. You hear a sentence rise within you, crystal clear. Every star has been waiting for you to say yes. In that moment, you understand every spiral, every trial, every night was never meant to test you, but to make you brave enough to accept what has always been yours, the identity of the chosen. You close your eyes, inhale, exhale. Above you, the crown of light from before still glimmers, now dissolving into tiny embers circling, merging into your cells. You no longer feel a crown being placed upon you. You feel yourself becoming that light. The voice softens, like a breeze through a door. Faith isn't knowing what waits on the other side. Faith is daring to step when the door opens. You open your eyes. The turning door is fully open now, and the light floods in, not glaring, not cold, but warm enough to bring tears. It doesn't just illuminate the room, it shines back into you, revealing everything you hid: fears, faults, the dreams you never spoke. But instead of shame, you feel tenderness for yourself. You whisper like a promise, like a prayer: I am here. I am not perfect, but I am ready. The light answers with a warm breath from the doorway, wrapping your body like an embrace. Then the voice speaks one last time, slow, steady, sure. Then step, chosen one. The universe has waited so long to breathe with you. You step through. Everything shifts tone. The world beyond is not heaven, not somewhere far. It is this present moment, so new you hardly recognize it. Light glides over every object, every breath. The sky blushes like a petal, and you recognize this dawn is being written from your heartbeat. Everything around you hums, as if the whole world is saying one word: Amen. You kneel, not to beg, but to give thanks. Your fingertips touch the ground, and the ground trembles softly. A current rises from the earth's heart, not fierce, but gentle as a first prayer. You feel roots, dew, birdsong, all lacing to you by an invisible thread. You open your palm. The light is still there, not lost, not diminished. And you understand this light wasn't given, it was awakened. The sun edges up. Light breaks on your wet eyes, shattering into 7 colors. In that instant, you know that every star, every wind, every soul that ever lived has added their breath so you could speak one simple word: yes. Not a yes of submission, but a yes of recognition. Yes to the truth that you are chosen. Yes to the journey, the wounds, the miracle that is already on its way. Yes to become the one the universe has waited for across many lifetimes. As the light settles, you return to the room. The door behind you still turns, slowly closing. But you don't feel regret. You know it never truly closes. It has moved inside you, becoming the door between heart and soul, between the former self and the self now living. On the table, your phone lights up. A notification appears, type Omen or 777. You smile, not from superstition, but because you understand it is no longer a random signal, it is the gentle ritual of faith. You type a single word, only one, Amen. And as your fingertip touches the screen, you hear a soft click within, as if the universe just confirmed the beginning of a new cycle. You look out the window. Dawn is fully risen. Light stretches across the rooftops, threads through the trees, reaches the far horizon. In that light, the last stars linger, fading, not gone, as if smiling a quiet farewell. A whisper rides the wind, like a promise written by the breath of 1,000 worlds. Every star waited for you to say yes. And now, everything begins again. You stand there in stillness, letting the new light touch your skin. No more boundary between night and day, between fear and peace. Only one breath, one heartbeat, one prayer. And you know, from this moment on, Wednesday night is no longer just a night of the week. It is your beginning, the chosen one who dared to say yes. Golden light covers the room, warm like a sunset, pausing just to wait for you. The music draws back. Only your breath remains steady, deep, true. No more bells, no more wind, only stillness. But in that stillness, a living presence widens, tender and clear. You are still here. And you are seen. The familiar voice threads into your heart, slow as it weaves light into you. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. There is no doubt left in you. The words don't come to persuade, but to confirm what you've known for so long, that you were never overlooked, never left at the margins. From the first breath to the last tear, you have always been held in the frequency of life. You softly close your eyes, place your hand on your chest. Beneath your palm, the pulse is steady, not hurried, not weak, but sure, as if the universe itself is whispering, I am still breathing with you. Everything you've walked, the line that was crossed, the ancient signs, the co-breathing cosmos, the identity placed into your hands now gathers into a single instant recognition. Not that you live in the universe, but that the universe is learning to breathe by you. The light beyond the window grows transparent. Dawn is no longer a border, but a continuation. The stars you passed through in the night remain not extinguished, only changed into faith, into warmth, into the peace now flowing through your body. You smile a quiet smile, like one who has finally come home. And in that second, the voice speaks one last time. You have heard, you have seen, and you have said, yes. Now let this light go farther. Someone out there is still waiting to be called by name. You open your eyes. Gold light touches your skin, bathing the room in warmth. The music fades, and only your breath remains even, deep, real. What's here is no longer a miracle to stare at, but a life to share. If your heart felt this, leave a small sign in this space, a prayer, a number, your own affirmation. If this spoke to you, type Amen in the comments. Don't miss tomorrow's message. Subscribe and tap the bell. Share this with another chosen one today. Let these lines become seeds of light carried from you to another someone who needs to remember they are chosen. They are not forgotten. Before the video closes, the voice rises again, small but clear, like the first breath of a new era. You do not merely live in the universe. The universe is learning to breathe by you. You inhale, exhale. Everything aligns. Peace, warmth, wholeness. And as the screen gently darkens, one soft line glows in gold. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. Then the light fades, and it is only you and the universe's breathing, ringing steady in your heart.